Let's jump straight into the circus that is KSI's recent antics. No introductions, no pleasantries, just the cold, hard truth about a YouTuber who's spiraling into the abyss of his own ego. KSI, the man who once prided himself on being authentic and relatable, has become a caricature of himself, more concerned with dodging accountability than maintaining any semblance of integrity. First off, let's address the laughable way KSI deals with criticism. He loves to act like he's above it all, laughing off legitimate concerns as if they're just minor annoyances. But here's the thing, when you laugh at something 70 times in a single video, it's not because it's funny. It's because you're trying desperately to convince yourself it doesn't matter. KSI's incessant laughter is less about humor and more about insecurity. He's built this persona of being untouchable, but the cracks are showing and the facade is crumbling. KSI's approach to criticism is as predictable as it is pathetic. Whenever someone calls him out, his first move is to laugh it off, as if that somehow nullifies the critique. But let's be real, laughing at criticism doesn't make it go away. It just makes you look like you can't handle it. And KSI, for all his bravado, clearly can't handle being called out. Instead of engaging with the criticism in any meaningful way, he resorts to mocking those who dare to question him.
What happened to YouTubers, man? I can't not say anything anymore!
It's the kind of behavior you'd expect from a playground bully, not a grown man with millions of followers. But before we dive deeper into this situation, make sure you like this video to boost it. Maybe, just maybe, KSI will see it and learn from his mistakes.
You're a colorful bunch.
We don't want to fight you.
Actually, Sonic, I would like to fight.
No, no!
So KSI decided to pick a fight with one of the most beloved figures on YouTube. And for what? To accuse DanTDM of promoting unhealthy snacks? The irony here is almost too much to handle. KSI, who's out here shilling his own brand of processed junk food, has the nerve to attack Dan for something that happened nearly a decade ago. It's like KSI is living in some alternate reality where his own actions don't count. He's so busy trying to tear others down that he can't see the hypocrisy in his own behavior. And then there's the way KSI keeps moving the goalposts. When Dan didn't respond the way he wanted, KSI switched tactics, trying to paint Dan's fans as racist. Yes, you read that right. KSI actually tried to imply that Dan's fanbase is full of racists because of a single tweet from some random troll. It's a desperate move from someone who's clearly grasping at straws. Instead of addressing the criticism head-on, KSI chose to deflect and distract, hoping that by dragging race into the conversation, he could avoid taking responsibility for his own actions. This whole situation with DanTDM highlights just how out of touch KSI has become.
But I wasn't the one complaining!
He seems to think that by shouting the loudest, he can drown out any criticism. But here's the thing, volume doesn't equal validity. No matter how loud KSI gets, it doesn't change the fact that he's wrong. And the more he doubles down, the more obvious it becomes that he's not interested in having a real conversation. He just wants to win, no matter the cost. Speaking of costs, let's talk about KSI's business ventures, or more accurately, his attempts to dodge responsibility when those ventures go south.
Paul and Jimmy's situation isn't to do with me!
Take his involvement with Logan Paul and Mr. Beast, or Jimmy as he likes to call him. KSI wants us to believe that Logan and Jimmy's situation has nothing to do with me, as if he's just an innocent bystander. But anyone with half a brain can see through that nonsense. KSI isn't some passive observer, he's an active participant in their business dealings. By trying to distance himself from the controversy, KSI is only making himself look more guilty. It's the classic "I'm not involved" defense, and it's about as convincing as a toddler with crumbs on his face saying he didn't eat the cookie. The way KSI tries to dodge accountability is nothing short of laughable. Whether it's his involvement in the NFT debacle or his attempts to downplay his role in various controversies, KSI is always quick to point the finger elsewhere. He talks about hindsight as if that somehow absolves him of any wrongdoing. But the truth is, hindsight is only useful if you actually learn from it. And judging by KSI's actions, it's clear that he hasn't learned a thing. He's still making the same mistakes and still refusing to own up to his failures. Take the NFT disaster, for example. KSI initially tried to brush it off as a harmless idea that never really got off the ground, but the reality is much different. KSI knew exactly what he was doing when he jumped on the NFT bandwagon. He saw an opportunity to make a quick buck, and he took it regardless of the consequences for his fans. And when things inevitably went south, he was quick to backpedal, claiming that it was all just a big misunderstanding. But here's the thing. There's no misunderstanding when it comes to exploiting your fan base. KSI might try to play the victim, but the truth is, he's the one who put his fans in a position to get scammed. And let's not overlook the way KSI tries to frame himself as a victim of hate.
People just hate us.
People just hate us, he says, lumping himself in with Logan Paul and Mr. Beast as if that somehow justifies his actions. But here's the reality. People don't hate KSI because he's successful. They hate him because he's proven time and again that he's willing to throw anyone under the bus to protect his own image. KSI's constant need to portray himself as the underdog is not only disingenuous, it's insulting to the very fans who supported him in the first place. KSI's victim complex is on full display every time he faces criticism. Instead of acknowledging his mistakes, he doubles down, insisting that the world is out to get him. But here's the thing, the world isn't out to get KSI. The world is just tired of his antics. People are tired of watching a grown man act like a spoiled child whenever things don't go his way. And they're especially tired of seeing KSI try to weasel his way out of every controversy with a smirk and a laugh. But the most damning aspect of KSI's behavior is how little he seems to care about the impact of his actions. Whether it's promoting potentially harmful products or engaging in shady business deals, KSI's primary concern is always his own bottom line. He talks a big game about wanting to give back to his fans, but when push comes to shove, it's clear that he's more interested in lining his own pockets. And the worst part, he genuinely seems to believe that he's doing nothing wrong. At the end of the day, KSI's downfall isn't going to be the result of some external force. It's going to be the result of his own arrogance and refusal to take responsibility. He can laugh all he wants, but eventually the jokes are going to run out. And when they do, KSI is going to have to face the reality that he's not the untouchable figure he thinks he is. He's just a man who got too caught up in his own hype, and now he's paying the price. So what's next for KSI? More excuses? More deflection? More pretending that everything is fine? Probably. But here's the thing, no amount of deflection is going to save KSI from the truth. He's dug himself into a hole, and the only way out is to start being honest. Honest with his fans, honest with himself, and honest about the fact that he's not infallible. Until KSI learns that lesson, he's going to keep spiraling, and no amount of laughter is going to stop the fall. In the end, KSI's story is a cautionary tale about what happens when you let your ego get in the way of reality. He might think he's on top of the world, but the reality is that he's teetering on the edge, one bad decision away from a complete collapse. And when that collapse comes, KSI will have no one to blame but himself. So that's my take on the situation. If you have a different opinion, feel free to share it in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe. See you in the next episode, and stay safe.